Kerch Bridge attack voiceover script. 2:15 a.m. December 18th, 2025. The Kerch Bridge. 500 tons of Russian high explosives disguised as a Christmas peace train have just been vaporized in an intense fireball. Russian operators watched in horror as their electronic jammers, thick enough to fry a microwave, did absolutely nothing to stop the inbound swarm. It was supposed to be a geopolitical checkmate. Instead, it became a humiliating physics lesson. But how did a silent wolf pack of AI drones blind an air defense network worth billions? Stay with me on Storysphere, because what you're about to discover will change everything you thought you knew about modern warfare. To understand how this happened, we have to rewind exactly 15 minutes. 2 a.m. A ghost is skimming just 15 feet above the freezing waves of the Sea of Azov. This is the GOGOL-M, Ukraine's heavy-lift mothership drone. But this isn't the standard electric model you read about in Forbes. This is a field-modified hybrid beast, upgraded with a gasoline generator to extend its range and payload capacity. 150 miles away, inside a bunker in Zaporizhia, the operator, call sign Gamer, wipes sweat from his palms. His breathing is shallow. His screen shows a simple, terrifying countdown. 45 seconds until they enter the engagement zone. Directly ahead lies the prize. Rolling across the 11.2-mile railway section of the Kerch Bridge at a steady 50 miles per hour is what Russian propaganda channels were calling the Christmas peace train. It's draped in white banners claiming to carry humanitarian aid for Crimea. But physics doesn't know how to lie. Ukrainian satellites noticed the suspension on those rail cars was compressed to the absolute limit. And thermal sensors picked up heat blooms radiating from inside. That's not blankets warming up. That is the distinct thermal signature of solid rocket fuel motors. This wasn't just a supply run. It was a fortress on rails. After the recent F-16 strikes that humiliated Moscow, the Russians didn't just repair the bridge, they turned it into a pincushion. They installed Pantsir S-1M systems on custom 100-foot towers to eliminate the low-altitude blind spots. S-400 batteries were sweeping 250 miles of sky, and heavy-duty anti-drone nets were strung between the arches like a spiderweb. Russian commanders were confident. They monitored the screens, sipping tea, convinced nothing could get through this wall of steel and jamming signals. And when they saw a lone Magura C drone appear on their thermal cameras, they probably laughed. The same old trick, they thought, preparing to shred it with 30mm cannons. They were right about one thing. It was a trick. But they were wrong about the direction. While their guns pointed down at the sea, two GOGOL-MS were coming and exposing Russia's fake Christmas trick. The first one was the Loudmouth, a sacrificial carrier designed to make noise. The second was the silent killer running dark, just above the waves. At 2:04 a.m., GOGOL-M number 1 executes its part of the choreography perfectly. This is the hybrid beast variant, field-modified with a gasoline generator screaming inside its fuselage, giving it the torque to carry a massive payload of 12 drones. It climbs aggressively to 1,000 feet, deliberately exposing itself to the Russian Big Bird acquisition radar. The operator in Kerch sees a solid blip. Air target, large signature, bearing 210. As soon as the tracking radar locks on, the GOGOL-M unleashes hell. First, the belly bay doors open, vomiting out 6 Wild Hornet decoys. Simultaneously, the underwing pylons release another 6 drones. Within seconds, 12 cheap frames loaded with aluminum corner reflectors are screaming away, scattering in every direction, climbing, diving, and jinking like a swarm of angry bees. To the Russian fire control computers, that single radar blip just exploded into 13 high-speed targets. It looks exactly like a saturation attack. But the Russian commander isn't fooled entirely. He identifies the largest blip, the mothership, and designates it as Priority 1. Kill the carrier, he orders. A Pantsir on the North Tower slews its turret. A 57 × 10 to the power of 6 missile leaps off the rail, accelerating to Mach 3 in seconds, locked straight onto the GOGOL-M's heat signature. The Ukrainian operator sees the missile launch warning. He yanks the controls, banking the heavy drone hard to the left. But a lumbering mothership can't outrun a hypersonic missile. It looks like the end. But then, pure luck or perhaps brilliant chaos engineering intervenes. One of the cheap FPV decoys, flying an erratic drunk pattern, drifts directly into the missile's flight path. Boom! The missile's proximity fuse detonates on the decoy, 200 feet short of the mothership. The GOGOL-M is rocked by the shockwave. Shrapnel peppers its fuselage, but the gasoline engine keeps screaming. Smoking and shaking, it dives toward the sea, escaping the radar horizon by inches. It limps back towards base. His job done. The Russian commander curses. He missed the big fish, but he has bigger problems. 12 decoys are still swarming his towers. But the nightmare didn't end there. At 2:05 a.m., the chaos doubles. Down on the water, the Magura V5 joins the party. Detecting the lock-on radar from a Russian Raptor patrol boat, the Magura executes a sharp 40-degree turn, skidding across the black water. On its wet deck, 4 modified FPV drones spin up their rotors. With a high-pitched whine, they lift off vertically from the moving hull, screeching toward the bridge pylons. Now they have a multi-dimensional nightmare, for drones are swarming up from the sea. 12 decoys diving from the sky, 16 targets converging at once. The Pantsir commander on the south tower is screaming orders. He hits auto-engage. The 30mm cannons, designed to fire 2,500 rounds per minute, unleash a wall of tungsten at the sea. The Magura V5 is dancing through geysers of water, dodging tracers like a boxer slipping punches. But physics catches up. A heavy round from a cord machine gun punches through its Starlink antenna. The Magura spins out, dead in the water. A second later, a Raptor patrol boat puts a missile into it. The Russians cheer, thinking they've won the naval battle. But the sky is still full of ghosts. The Pantsirs launch salvo after salvo of missiles at the swarming Wild Hornets. The sky above the Kerch Strait doesn't just light up, it erupts. The Pantsir on the south tower engages first. Its phased array radar locks onto 3 Wild Hornet decoys diving in a tight formation. 357 times 10 to the power of 6 missiles streak off the rails, accelerating to 2,900 miles per hour. The first drone, a cheap plywood frame carrying nothing but a radar reflector, attempts a clumsy roll to the right. It's too slow. The missile detonates 5 meters away, its continuous rod warhead slicing the drone into confetti. 1 down. But the second decoy gets lucky. It dives abruptly, dropping 50 feet just as a missile passes overhead. The missile's proximity fuse fails to trigger against the small plastic target. It splashes harmlessly into the sea. The Russian operator curses, his hands sweating on the joystick. He switches to the 30mm autocannons. A stream of tracers lashes out, tearing the second drone apart in a shower of sparks and lithium battery fire. Meanwhile, the 4 FPVs from the Magura are weaving through the bridge's steel arches. A squad of Russian conscripts on the railway deck opens up with PKM machine guns and shoulder-fired Igla missiles. It's a chaotic wall of lead. One FPV takes a 7.62mm round directly to its flight controller and spirals into a concrete pylon, detonating its small fragmentation charge. A black scorch mark appears on the pillar, but the bridge holds. The last 2 airborne decoys are now pulling a suicide loop, climbing vertically to draw fire from the North Tower Pantsir. The commander takes the bait. He fires 4 missiles in 2 seconds. It's overkill. It's expensive. But it's effective. Both drones are vaporized in midair, their burning debris raining down onto the roadway below. The shooting finally stops. The air is filled with the acrid smell of cordite and burning plastic. Smoke from 16 destroyed drones drifts across the strait, blinding the thermal cameras. The Russian defense network has performed perfectly. They intercepted 100% of the threats. Inside the command vehicle, the operators are high-fiving. "Clean sweep," one says, wiping sweat from his forehead. "They tried to swarm us and we crushed them." But in their celebration, they aren't doing the math. A Pantsir S1 vehicle carries exactly 12 ready-to-fire missiles. Reloading takes about 15 minutes and requires a crane truck. In 90 seconds of panic fire, the South Tower unit has expended 10 missiles. The North Tower has fired 8. They have burned through millions of dollars in hypersonic interceptors to swat down plywood toys worth peanuts. Simultaneously, they crank their Krasuka 4 jamming systems to maximum power, flooding the airwaves with enough white noise to disconnect every cell phone in Crimea. They think they are creating an impenetrable electronic shield to stop a second wave. In reality, they are just blinding themselves. While the Pantsirs are smoking empty, their barrels glowing red-hot, and the jammers are screaming at full volume, nobody notices the ammo counters dropping into the critical red zone. And more importantly, nobody notices that in the shadow of that drifting smoke, skimming just 10 feet above the waves, the second GOGOL-M has already bypassed the kill zone. It's 2 miles out. It hasn't fired a shot. It was just waiting for the guns to go silent. But Kiev isn't done playing mind games. Just as the Russian operators are catching their breath, the Big Bird long-range radar screams again. High-speed Vampire inbound from Odessa, Mach 0.9, is a single R-360 Neptune cruise missile, skimming the wavetops. The Pantsirs are out of ammo, so the Russians have to use the big guns. The S-400 battery on the Crimean coast engages. The intercept is textbook, or so it seems. The S-400 hits the Neptune just half a mile out, directly upwind of the bridge. A massive explosion rocks the strait. The Russians cheer again. Another threat neutralized. But then something strange happens. The explosion doesn't dissipate. Instead, caught by the strong sea breeze, it blooms into a massive, heavy cloud that rolls instantly over the bridge deck. This wasn't a standard high-explosive warhead. The Ukrainian engineers had swapped the payload for canisters of multispectral aerosol smoke and hot metallic chaff. As the thick fog engulfs the bridge, it doesn't just block vision. The hot suspended particles blind the thermal cameras, and the chaff wall swallows radar waves whole. The Russian screens go from clear to whiteout. They are completely blind. The Russians just intercepted a blind bomb. For the next 3 minutes, their billion-dollar air defense network is effectively staring at a brick wall. And that is exactly when the GOGOL-M No. 2 makes its move. Hidden behind the electronic curtain of the chaff cloud, it opens its wings. Through the onboard 4K camera of the GOGOL-M No. 2, the target finally comes into clear view. The chaff cloud is dissipating just enough for the optics to see the bridge, but the Russian radars are still blind. There it is, the Christmas peace train, rolling at 45 miles per hour. The thermal filter shows bright red hotspots glowing through the steel walls of cars 12 through 18. Solid rocket fuel. Target confirmed. Drop the Vanguard, Gamer whispers. The belly bay opens. 6 Wild Hornet FPVs drop out. These are the Pathfinders. They streak toward the train, drawing the last line of defense. The Russian train guards aren't asleep. Seeing the drones emerging from the smoke, they open fire with AK-12s and PKM machine guns from the vestibules. It's a desperate wall of lead. 2 of the Vanguard drones are hit, spinning wildly into the sea. A third clips the anti-drone net and tangles helplessly in the mesh. But the Russians are looking the wrong way. They are focused on the first wave. Above them, the GOGOL-M releases the real payload. The clamps under its wings snap open. 6 AI-enabled Wild Hornets drop into the slipstream. These are the executioners. Each one carries an NVIDIA Jetson module and a heavy shape charge warhead. As soon as they drop, they cut their radio links to ignore the jamming. They form a loose V formation. The lead drone's sensor detects the steel net that just caught its brother. The AI executes the Cobra pop-up. In perfect unison, the 6 killer drones pull up hard, rocketing vertically over the top of the steel net with inches to spare. The Russian guards look up, their eyes widening in horror as the drones stall 100 feet above them, nose over, and lock onto the ammo cars. The Pantsir missiles are gone, and their autocannons are jammed from overheating. The radars are blind. The guards are out of ammo. Gravity takes over. The drones dive. 2:15 a.m. impact. The first Wild Hornet slams into the roof of Car 14. This isn't a simple collision. The drone is carrying a PG-7VL shaped charge warhead. Upon contact, a piezoelectric trigger detonates the explosive, creating a jet of molten copper moving at 25,000 feet per second. The physics are merciless. The copper jet punches through the thin steel roof of the railcar like a hot needle through butter. It screams into the cargo hold, directly into a stack of 122mm artillery shells. The result is instant. The shells don't just burn, they detonate sympathetically. A fireball erupts from inside the car, expanding at roughly 15,700 miles per hour. The blast pressure wave hits 400 psi, instantly liquefying the steel walls of the carriage. The shockwave derails the cars immediately in front and behind it, tossing 60-ton wagons into the air like toys. But that's just the match. The fuel is the real problem. Drone numbers 2 and 3 dive into the chaos, their AI locking onto the heat signatures of the rocket fuel containers. They strike cars 16 and 17. The solid rocket motors ignite instantly, but they don't explode. They propel. The burning motors break loose, spinning wildly across the bridge deck like giant fiery pinwheels, spraying burning propellant at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The steel rails of the Kerch Bridge begin to glow cherry red. At 1,000 degrees, steel loses 50% of its structural strength. At 2,000 degrees, it starts to act like plastic. The tracks warp and buckle under the intense heat, permanently fusing the wreckage to the bridge. The Christmas peace train has become a 1,000-foot-long dragon of fire. Secondary explosions ripple down the line as Iranian Shahid drones cook off their warheads, adding to the symphony of destruction. Russian operators in the command center watch their screens go white. The feed from the security cameras cuts out, melted by the heat. The damage goes far beyond the explosion itself. 500 tons of ammunition, enough to sustain an entire offensive axis for 2 weeks, is gone. Vaporized. The GOGOL-M drones, mission complete, turn back toward the Ukrainian coast, leaving behind a bonfire visible from space. The bridge isn't collapsed, but it might as well be. The intense heat has compromised the structural integrity of the railway span. The rails are melted slag. The concrete is spalled and cracked. No train will cross this bridge for months. Moscow's 24-hour delivery service to the front lines just got cancelled. They're back to using slow, vulnerable ferries. The economics tell the final story. Ukraine spent maybe $200,000 on this entire operation: drones, fuel, decoys. Russia lost a $50 million cargo, a $10 million train, and billions in strategic logistics capability. As far as return on investment goes, that beats any cryptocurrency on the market. Moscow wanted to send a message with their Christmas cargo. Ukraine just sent a reply: return to sender. So here's the question for you, armchair generals. If you were the Ukrainian commander, would you have targeted the engine to stop the train first, or gone straight for the ammo like they did? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed watching physics bully a superpower, smash that like button and subscribe to Storysphere for more incredible stories like this. Bye for now.